Do you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. And at the risk of infringing on other people's copyright, live from New York and South Carolina, it's Saturday night!
There you go.
I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nurse Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And sound effects that you have heard come from none other than our returning man into Brooklyn. One agent _7 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings. I am back. Glad to be back. I wish I was living up to one of these songs that I use a sample of as a sound drop. I really wish this was the case.
No sleep till Brooklyn.
Well, actually, I think what it is that is exactly the case, is that I've only gotten real sleep since I've been in Brooklyn, since I've been back, because jet lag is real, son. And in all seriousness, you know, I have to apologize to Roddykat because we were going to record the other day, and I just could not stay awake because jet lag.
Oh, I knew it. That's why I said, hey, if you need to tonight, you let me know. But he was like, nah, I'm going to try. And
yeah, next thing I know,
the inevitability happens, so it's all good. So it is all good.
Oh, it was all very, very sad. Very, very sad. And then the gremlins decided to kind of pop up before we started recording, and it was humorous because the gremlins were mostly on my side, which is rare because my settings don't change, right? And we're talking about nuts and bolts here, folks. Sorry to get into the minutia, but you know, just, you know, one singular update usually doesn't change everything, but because I am still running at like 75% speed, thanks to the jet lag, I really had a problem trying to figure out what was wrong. And so what, of course, fixed everything. What, of course, got us back in gear, the good old standard Office ITS. Did you try restarting it and reconnecting? And that's exactly what happened. So
yeah. Turn it off and turn it back on. Only fails 20% of the 100% of the times you try it.
Exactly. So I am back. Glad to be back, folks. Glad to be talking pop culture and comics. I could even talk about some of the things that I saw in Greece, which is where I was. But, you know, we'll talk about, you know, we have a couple of things to talk about at the top of the show. So, you know, I'll let Roddykat go through the intros and we'll get going.
Indeed, and we do have a good bit of pop cultural things to get into at that. Some of it's kind of shameful, but like I said, we'll get into some of that. But yes, this is the Comic Book Chronicles. You can find us at the Cold Soul Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Soul Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
So yeah, digging into this really fast. Agent 70 is going to talk about. So okay, well, first off the top, Mandalorian Grogu came out a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't seen it yet. Agent 70 is. He's about to talk about that. He-Man, the Masters of the Universe movie has also come out. Neither one of us seen it yet, so that'll be probably next week if both of us catches it. Or if one of us catches it.
Or
One
yeah,
or
if
the other.
any of us catch it in time to speak about it by next episode. So very quickly, Star Wars: The Mandalorian Grogu picks up right where we left off, right at the end of the previous season of The Mandalorian. And I think that the most fair criticism that I saw and heard about the movie is that it really feels like 4 or 5 episodes stitched together in the form of a movie, right? That's really what it kind of felt like to me as well. And I understood it, as soon as I finished watching it and I listened to a couple of podcasts and I read a couple of written reviews. I noticed that seemed to be relatively common, a relatively common comment between all of them, and I thought that ultimately that was the most fair thing to say. I think in terms of the positive things to talk about about the movie is that, one, there are very convincing, very good action sequences in that movie, right? There are some really good ones. 2, there are some you know what? I actually wrote something. I wrote something for Roddykat to read in case he wanted to read it, and that actually put
And I didn't. So go ahead and hit it. So go ahead.
Right,
and hit that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to just skim that very quickly, and go with that. So, let's see. Right. So, I watched the movie as reward for being like 95% finished with packing, and I did it. I did it as a way to clear my head. So my rewatch of season 3 of Mando had to be finished as well. Of when it's like what I let play in the background when I was packing. And for goodness sake, I completely forgot about Jack Black and Lizzo. With that episode completely spaced, I forgot.
I laughed when you brought that part up. I'm like, yep, I remember
Right.
that.
Right. So as I said earlier, critics are accurate when they say this movie was a set of 4 or 5 episodes of Mando turned into a movie. But so long as you accept that, then you don't have to worry about the movie not having a 3-act structure like most movies. While there are some great action set pieces and sequences, Mando and Grogu is a kid-centered movie because there is plenty of Grogu and Anzellans teaming up. That was actually, I thought, a good, a positive part of the movie, right?
Bad baby.
Right. And I love their interaction. There's a couple of really great jokes and kind of visual gags involving the Anzellans and Grogu.
Mhm.
I think that, mild spoiler, Grogu doing some force moving of somebody during the movie is a really great gag. It's a great visual gag. I laughed out loud. I think the audience in the theater laughed out loud. For me, the movie kind of redeemed the Anzellans, right? Based off of what I said, because I did not like Babu Frick.
You did not.
And I thought that the Anzellans, that the previous appearance of the Anzellans in the Mandalorian were okay, because remember, that's where Bad Baby comes from, right? Bad Baby,
No
right?
squeezy.
Right, no squeezy. That's
Mhm.
right. And at the end of the day, I feel like this movie better incorporated the Anzellans and better showcased what you could do with the Anzellans. I felt that Grogu made some progress as a character and grew up a bit more, that is. And Mando only grew a little bit when he realized that he had to do more, and this is again very mild spoilers, very more hands-on teaching. And we haven't really gotten a lot of that during The Mandalorian, because you have to recall that uh, much of this Mandalorian storyline was about him sending or getting Grogu to his family, getting him to his kind, and getting him to Luke, and then Luke giving Grogu the choice, and then with Grogu choosing to go full Mando. So now we are starting to get the full adoption process, I guess, of Grogu as a foundling and as a student. We've gotten a lot of that during season 3, but we've gotten even more of that during this movie. So I would recommend it as someone who I would recommend it to folks who have kept up with The Mandalorian. If you've been listening to our show and following along with us as we talked about The Mandalorian, I think you should watch this movie as well. Do I think you need to run out to see it? I'm kind of 50-50 on that. Right? I still think this is something that you should watch on the big screen and then, kind of rewatch on Disney Plus when it's time to kind of gear up for whatever comes next in the world of The Mandalorian.
Which actually brings up what I was going to get to, because it was an interesting choice for them to turn this, what could have potentially been another season, into a movie, especially given that information, because it felt like even if they were going to go full blast with a movie like from the jump, it probably there was going to be some people saying, hey, it feels like XYZ episodes of the show and not necessarily a movie. So,
right,
because I think some of the same critiques were levied about Ahsoka. That was a show, but and I'm sure when they do that, whenever movie they're trying to set up for with this and Ahsoka, they're going to still say that same thing. So
right,
it was just weird after, like, okay, we got 3 seasons of Mando, and now they just made it into a movie, which is probably the thing that is starting off that thing, and then how Ahsoka ended and what they said their plans was going to be. I'm like, okay, yeah, they're definitely setting up for something.
Right, we know it's a money grab. We know it's a money grab. As much as we want the last season of Haikyuu, as much as we want the last season of Demon Slayer, right? It's a money grab. So they're forcing us to sit and wait, as opposed to getting these shows out, getting them into and out of the hopper, right? So we just have to kind of take that as it take it as it comes, right?
Yeah, and you got a nice little Rebels, reference going all up and through there, because that was in the trailer, so that's not a spoiler. And I haven't seen
that's
it,
not a
but that
spoiler.
wasn't even a spoiler. Yeah. So
right,
you got that side.
And yeah, it's definitely there. It's definitely there, and there's definitely the tease of more to come.
Actually, I kind of want to ask you a question, but I'm gonna save it for after the show, because there was one particular character I wanted to ask, well, probably 2, but one particular character I wanted to ask about whether they were represented in there at all, but we'll get to that later. Right now, though, we're going to go into actually more Agent 70, talking about his experiences at Brooklyn Comic Con, while I go run out the door for a second. I'll be right back.
Sure. So I went to Brooklyn Comic Con earlier today, and it was an interesting experience. My understanding is that it's a rather novel experience for everyone, because prior to this, at least fairly recently, Brooklyn Comic Con had been held in like a singular building, and had been mostly indoors, maybe except for like the wrestling ring. But this time around, I decided to go to a Brooklyn Comic Con for the first time, where it was being held between multiple buildings that were situated next to each other. And that led to kind of like a disjointed experience. And I think that's the best way to describe it. And I think that, we had a pretty warm day in New York City today. It was like 89, like borderline 90 degrees. So in the sun. So what ended up happening is that they put a bunch of vendors and artists outside, right, in their booths under tents on a little side street in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and that was rather that was a surprise to a lot of the folks that I talked to. They didn't realize they were going to be set up outside. They thought they were going to be set up indoors, and I feel like the weather, less so the sun, but more so the wind that was blowing through in gusts, was really wreaking havoc with some people's displays. I thought that was a little unfair to them. They did place some vendors who had more traditional comic book comic book things to sell, like back issues and whatnot, indoors, and there was a huge line to get there because they were also giving away free comics. So, with free like older free comic book days stuff. So, that was a kind of a more traditional Comic-Con experience. I will say that the Brooklyn Comic-Con is definitely geared towards the fandom, the fandom of there were plenty of people of color, right? It's very much accepting of body type, right? Very much accepting of gender and sexuality and whatnot. So you got to see a lot more, and this is stuff that you see in New York Comic Con in general, but it's buried under just a massive amount of people that are there, right? You don't necessarily get to see it up close, because you may not run into it unless you're in certain circles. Whereas here, this was definitely front and center. So it was it's very much that kind of friendly space. But I felt like it was disjointed because of the way the general floor plan for the con was laid out. I don't know if this is just a one-off thing where they were unable to get the regular venue and they decided to pivot and do it this way. I don't know if they're going to get some feedback. The organizers are going to get some feedback to change it back to the way it was next year. I actually would want to go. I would actually plan to go next year just to see what changes take place in the interim. But I had a decent time overall. It was pretty tiring, but at the end of the day, I'm usually tired after dealing with a con. So.
And you were doubly tired because you had just come back from a trip.
I'm still jet lagged. I am still jet lagged, for real.
So you had on top of you.
For real. And I'll just talk about my experience in Greece quickly, because I have not even had a chance to share photos on the socials. I will say that I did kind of the main tourist thing in Athens before I went on my little ferry trip to the island where a family gathering was being held. So I did the Acropolis. I climbed, I went to the top of the Acropolis, went to the Parthenon. Nice. Before that, though, I stopped at two separate comic book stores in Athens.
Right? I ask.
What I discovered is that Athens also has siestas, but they call them siestos. They take 2 hours in the middle of the day, and they don't do work. It's like an extended lunch hour, and they don't have anyone in the store while they're on lunch. They all go out to lunch, which is wild.
Nice, though.
Right? So ultimately, when I get in and I get situated, I plot out which stores I want to hit first before I head to the Acropolis. I only have half an hour at one store, but the store I chose to go to first and I made the right decision in going to it, was a place named Limited Edition. And it is actually the second store. What I found out from talking to the proprietor, both that time and then the time I came back before I flew out, was that this was his second store in Greece, and they only deal with American style comics. They also do not deal with anime or manga because they don't know it, because they are of a certain vintage where they have not had their own personal anime journeys the way I have.
And still
Thanks
having.
to right, and I'm still having. It's not like they underwent their journey or started their journey because of the pandemic, whereas I went into my journey full bore during the pandemic, but I had done a little bit before that. So ultimately, while they're still very much like me in that they grew up, with Battle of the Planets, they grew up with Robotech, they still hadn't dove into anime to the extent that it's kind of exploded in popular culture over the last, let's say, 15 years. So, or even 20 years. Ultimately with them, they just dealt with American comics, which is wild to me. And they didn't do Greek translations on top of that. They did not deal with Greek translations because they didn't like the translations, because they could, bear in mind, obviously it is an English speaking country on top of Greek being presumably the national language. Don't quote me on that. But because they are able to read, write, and speak English, they can tell when the Greek translation is not up to speed. And so they prefer to sell English comics. And, I thought that was interesting, but I was looking for Greek translations, right? And my understanding from the proprietor of Limited Edition was that, they're getting comics from England, right? And that's complicated by Brexit. And so and so to cut back on costs, they have to limit how many times they get their shipments through, interestingly, through Diamond. They have to get their shipments of new books. So they're roughly like a month or so behind. So look at it as like 4 weeks behind. Right. And so I was able to cop a couple of books that I had missed the first time around in first printing, off their racks, because they just happened to have a couple of copies left over. So, I grabbed like the first printing of that. I don't have it handy, and because I'm still running at 75% speed. I'm very much unprepared. The Dakota Incident book.
Oh, yes.
I did not get a first printing of that. I ended up getting the variant cover. I believe it's the cover with Superman and God, his name is escaping me. The main hero, Icon. Right, and I think it's a Dennis Cowan cover. So I ended up getting that variant, and I was very happy about getting that. But yeah, I was mildly disappointed that I wasn't able to get any Greek translated books. But I was very happy that this store is in place, and it was almost like being at home, right, at a comic book store at home.
Right.
Just very surprised that they did not have any kind of anime or manga stuff, because I thought that would be like a main feature for a lot of these stores. It turns out that the stores I did not visit probably had that stuff, right, to kind of diversify their product, right? But I'm glad that I went to Limited Edition, because that's a real, I hate to say this, like a hardcore comic book store, right, for a real hardcore collector.
Right.
And I also made a connection with the person who runs the Athens Comic Con, who happened to be in the store at the same time that I came in. So, knock on wood, if I ever have a chance to go back, then, I got to connect with the person who runs the Athens Comic Con. Nice. The second store I went to is called Comic Strip, and they deal exclusively in translations, Greek translations. And I thought, thank goodness I made this my second stop, because that's exactly what I was looking for. The proprietor there spoke a lot less English, so communications were a little bit more disjointed. But we were able to communicate well enough where I was able to tell her that I was very glad to find the shop. I was able to get a trade paperback of the first trade. I forget how many issues were in there of Ms. Marvel, the G. Willow Wilson Ms. Marvel, Adrian Alfona and Tak Miyazawa, right? And that is translated into Greek. And I saw that, and I want to compare and contrast that with what we have in the original copies. I can always open up, and it's a tool, it's not a plug. I can always open up Marvel Unlimited and see what it looks like, and take a look at the Greek version, and pass Google Translate over it again, a tool, not a plug, and see how well it translates. Right, and I'm looking forward to that. And I was able to get some independent small press, an independent small press, a Greek small press trade, a small story, a small comic book actually, just in trade paperback form, in both English and they publish it in both English and in Greek, so I can compare those side by side and see how they work that translation. But I was very happy to find that little shop. They had lots of European comics translated. They didn't have a ton of manga stuff, but they had some anime stuff for sale. But I didn't see a lot of it in the shop. But it was a little on the smaller side. So I think that if I had had time to go to additional shops, I would have found the anime and manga stuff possibly translated into Greek. But I'm glad I went to the two shops that I did go to, limited edition and comic strip. And if you guys are in Athens, make sure to hit those shops up.
Agent 7, if and or when you get a chance, I would love to see like a panel or two out of that Greek translated.
Oh, absolutely. We'll do it after the show. Sorry that I don't have it handy, folks. I am ill prepared for this show. It's been a week.
Or even then, I mean, or like if you get a jump, because it's like because we're probably still gonna be running a little bit under. Both of us probably got to get up early in the morning. But when you like snap a panel and put it up on Insta or something like that, or we could do it next week. Either way, but that would be curious because it was like now that I think about it, Greek lettering would be kind of weird in an American comic book. I mean, it has happened in cases, but that was potential. Actually, now to think about it. No, that's Roman. Never mind. I was about to say something for a book about this week. Either way,
right.
But yeah, that would be.
And I'll tell you just as a quick footnote on that conversation is that obviously I went for a family event, and additional family extended their European vacations a little bit and went to places like Rome and went to places like Paris. And one of my cousins sent me pics of a comic book store that they stopped into because it was right across from the Airbnb that they were staying in. And that's what I anticipated the comic book stores in Athens to be. And that's probably what I just didn't have a chance to visit, which is they had plenty of comics, lots of Funkos, and lots of anime and manga. But this was Italy. Italy, we both know, has a very strong and robust comic book scene. So I think that that is the biggest difference between the two, right? That if you're going to Italy, like we know, we know this on a regular, we see this on a regular weekly basis when we're reading credits for our comics that we're reading. There are a lot of Italian creators in the credits because that's how strong, how big, and robust the comic book scene is in Italy. So no big surprise that the comic book stores in Italy would be comparable to like the bigger stores that we have here in the States.
Yeah. And I was going to mention a couple of things really quickly. One, if you and I know you do sometimes, go on League of Comic Books, Comic Geeks, and you'll see you'll see all of the comics that are coming out for the week, but then you'll start seeing here's the Spanish version of a book that came out like 6 months ago or something like that.
Right.
So,
I got sent. I think my cousin picked up the Panini.
Yes.
The Panini version of, I think it was like X-Force #1.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it was kind of funny that you said that, like, yeah, they're about like 4 weeks or like a good month or two behind there in Greece as
Right.
well because of probably for similar reasons.
Right. Because they're getting their books from England. I think in Italy they might get direct distribution. They might.
Probably. Yeah.
They might. Remember, Greece is on the far end, right,
Mhm.
of Europe. So
Right. Also, well, one shout out to Von Gloom who popped up in chat saying grazie. Von Gloom, I know you're not in New York, but did you happen to be in New York this weekend, or are you in, or did you hit the Brooklyn Comic Con? Because Agent 7 was just talking about it, and also I was going to ask you, Agent 7, you didn't happen to see Matt at Brooklyn Comic Con, did you? Okay.
No. This wasn't because it's not it wasn't a big enough retailer thing
Right.
and a big enough artist thing, and that's kind of what was disappointing to me.
Mm.
It's more an experience for people who are looking to, it's a community experience, which is great, right? It's like a community meetup. It's a community get together for nerds of color, for blurs, and I think that's great. But if you say Comic-Con to me, if you call it a Comic-Con to me, it means a couple of things, a couple things need to be there. There needs to be retailers there, and there need to be artists there. Right? If you don't have that, do you really have business to to call yourself a Comic-Con? But I'm old school like that,
Right. And now that I think about it, I guess you about that other thing. I think the other thing is in like November anyway. That new one they're trying to start up over there. So I think that might be in November.
Right. That might be like a small press one, but that might be more of a traditional Comic-Con where they're gonna have artists, they're gonna have guests who are, and I think that this Brooklyn Comic-Con had wrestling guests, I think, and a couple of other guests, but no artists and no writers and comic book people to speak of. So, it's a little different. It's a different vibe, to quote the kids, misusing and misappropriating our old slang, but it's definitely a different different sensibility.
Gotcha. And last
much
thing
more
before
of a
we go,
meetup thing than anything.
yeah, which some smaller Comic Cons are pretty much those anyway. But they at least have the other trappings that you would expect. So
right.
With that being the case, actually, you reminded me, folks, that I totally forgot to mention at the top of the show. 1, Happy Pride Month to folks out there. 2, Happy Black Music Month, also, because it is also that. And 3, which we will get into a little bit later, Happy Key 3, which is around time for video gaming folks. E3 usually be around the time, but there's no more the E3. There's Summer Game Fest, and there's some stuff that came out of that that we'll be talking about later on in the show. And boy, will we! And with that, Von Gloom said he had no idea that there was any event in BK. So yeah, there's that. I mean, I know there's like what is it?
It was in Bushwick, so it was definitely like in the. No, it was definitely in the whatchamacallit, the gentrified areas.
I know there's a site that I get news from sometime, and at the bottom of it they have here's the upcoming events for like the next month or two or whatever of for any comic type event. But I'm sure I'll find it when we get to the news section. But that being said, we are going to actually, you made good timing here, Von Gloom. We're going to actually about to get into the books of the week, starting off with Gatchaman, Red Impulse number 2 of 4.
Alrighty, Gatchaman, Red Impulse number 2 of 4, published by Mad Cave, is written by Steve Orlando with art by Riccardo Ribaldo. Speaking of Italian, right? Colors are by Rebecca Nalty, and letters are by Frank Svetkovic. Goodness, I'm getting my I'm getting my my foreign sounding name practice. I'm putting it all very much to practice, after coming back from overseas, right? So this issue shows kind of the. I guess they're doing this in an opening arc of 2 issues because it's a 4-issue limited series. But this issue kind of had an infiltration that that Red Impulse, that 2 members of Red Impulse underwent, and they had to deal with infiltrating Galactor, and it's almost like a heist that goes awry, right? But at the end of the day, I felt like this was a lot of fun just to see the other side of the support team that that helped Gatchaman, the Science Ninja team, do their thing. And it's not the cleanup crew. I'm actually reminded of the cleanup crew in Demon Slayer. The folks who were kind of dressed like ninja, who clean up after the Demon Slayer core have big battles. That's kind of what this is. I feel like this is almost hearkening to that, but these folks are on their own mission, and I'll hand it off to Roddykat for his thoughts on this.
So before I talk about it, actually I did some research after the last time we talked about it, and Agent 70 asked the same question that I had about this group. In that, is this new, or is this in anime canon? And apparently it comes to find out that this is indeed in canon with the anime. Actually, let's see, one in particular, because I think the main the captain is definitely in the OVA and definitely shows up in the anime, even though I did not see the episode. But I checked on the wiki, and it's like, yeah, the dude show up and the group shows up, and so yeah, so these folks show up. That being said, what this book seems to me like, it's a hey, let's meet the crew, because we met the captain last issue. We're meeting another member of the crew this one, and I think the next issue is probably going to be the same way. So I'm assuming by the last issue, maybe they're gonna have the last mission is gonna be like all of them together, maybe, and they'll filter into the book, the main Gatchaman book at some point. But that being said, the kind of slightly away from what Agent 70 just said, to me it kind of seems like this is more of the Witworks group. Because it's like, because I think he even said it the last issue was like, we do the dirty work that before Gatchaman gets win, or that Gatchaman doesn't. So and partially there's a reason for that, because from what we found out from the first issue, like the captain is in true Racer X fashion the father of G1, aka Gatchaman, aka Ken the Eagle, that he doesn't know about because of apparently.
Don't you mean Keith? No, I'm kidding.
I know, right? But yeah, so he's the dad that he's the dad that apparently not necessarily faked his death, but was presumed dead, but is still around. He was friends with Dr. Nambu, so all of that was said first issue is still that was straight from canon apparently. And he's just he and his crew are doing missions Blackhawk style, if you know the DC Blackhawks, I guess, in another thing.
Right.
So they realize that, and also because just like the Blackhawks, like, hey, they're the Flyers also, so they realize that. And pretty much everything else it just said about what happens in this issue, is the case. Like they go on this mission, you get a little bit of insight on the other crew member that the captain is with, because I think that was the intent of this. And like I said, it seems like we're probably just going to meet at least 1 or 2 members more of this crew as this series go by. Like I said, whether they end up back in the main book at some way, shape, or form, we shall see. But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of why they are doing this instead of, I mean, obviously trying to expand the lore of Gatchaman in this universe and some more books, the cynical side of that. But hey, like I said, if if you didn't necessarily know all the ins and outs of the anime and whatnot, hey, this is going to be welcome one way or another, because to you it's going to be new whether it's new or not. So, you know. But that being said, yeah, hey, it was a good stuff, good mission. They're still taking it to Galactor just like Gatchaman does. So, you know, just getting a little bit more dirty with it than than Gatchaman most times do. So, and therein lies that. And Von Gloom says, as long as it isn't Brownsville BK, I'm like, yeah, I've you know, MOP, I guess.
Annie up.
Exactly. Next up, though, we are going to get to our next book, which is Batgirl 20.
All right, Batgirl number 20 is written by Tate Bromble with pencils by Steven Segovia. Inks on this book are by Jason Paz. Colors are by Rain Barreto, and letters are by Tom Napolitano, a different lettering Python. So in this issue, we kind of start off a new story arc, and the new story arc involves Batgirl on her own, and interestingly, on her own detective story, right? And it's pretty fun to see this side of the character being explored, because we're kind of used to Casandra Cain being the center of a story that, you know, up until now has been, you know, in this book has been fairly consistent, which is the center of an action story, the center of a martial arts movie, the center of the raid part, whatever, right? And you know, we get in this issue a real and this was part of the last couple of issues where Tate Bromble kind of put Cassie into context, right? And put her into the current context of what's going on in Gotham, right? If you haven't been reading Fractions Batman, or even the Barbara Gordon book that just dropped, a little bit of Nightwing, but a little less so of Nightwing. This Batgirl is placed Poison Ivy, right? But I'm not reading that Poison Ivy. But I wanted to get through at least those kind of primary Bat books, where we've now put Cassie into the fabric of what's going on in the Bat universe in Gotham City right now. And there are signs in this issue of how she's kind of dancing between different raindrops when it comes to dealing with what's going on in Gotham, while also being targeted, I think is probably the best word. And with that, I will hand it off to Roddykat.
Yeah. So, I mean, my familiarity with Cass is, you know, not as much as the regular DC, you know, purveyor. So, you know, sometimes you forget that, hey, she was trained by the Batman, who, by the way, does show up in the as a cameo in this issue at the top to give her the mission. And part of this issue, you kind of get to see is like, yeah, you definitely know she spent some time with Batman, because you can see her kind of going off there, even though she has, you know, even before, you know, she came across him, she had been scared. And that's why it kind of goes into some of that too, because, you know, she was
that she'd been trained by other people, right?
Exactly. So you get to see in this particular issue specifically, you get to see the two sides of from the main father figures in her life, the way she had been trained. And that is going into the story. And also, as Age of 70 just said, you know, the kind of dives a little bit into the larger part of Gotham as it is right now, because there's another Bat-centric character that shows up in the book, and I was like, wait, when did he get bussed down to a beat cop? But then if you know about what's going on in the other books, you kind of you know what the situation is with that,
right?
So, because it was like, dang, that's kind of messed up for them to do him like that. But again, I guess, given the alternatives, you know, and who's around, I guess it was probably better for them to do that than to just kill him again. But that being said, yeah, Agent 70 said cast and crew gets into a murder situation that they end up going CSI, and what we come to find out is that as Agent 70 said, yeah, Kaz may or may not be getting targeted because it's definitely someone that knows some things about her that is targeting her. Excuse me. And also, and of course, I was going to pull up something, but that's not going to happen right now. But basically, the person we find out at the end of this issue is potentially named after a Patricia Russian song, of which some would know from another song from a movie with Will Smith in it. But that's okay, because I'm pretty sure by the time you hear me saying all of this, the soundbite will be in the audio version of this show. So that is that, though. Continues to be. Oh yeah, and also, we also get another. I guess I don't know if I want to call this character a bad adjacent character, but it's definitely a character that's associated with a character that has been in the book, so in the last volume, as a parent. So, and they are not in a good way from their dealings in this, but I guess hopefully maybe that's not the final, because some things happen to Cass in this particular issue, and the same thing happened to another person, and yeah, things aren't, things are going away. That being the case, though, that is it for Batgirl number 2. As we get to the last book that we have in common, which is a potential click of the week for me. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. In Fantastic Four number 12, and Von Gloom, you are going to be very disappointed if you hadn't read this book, because I know you kind of fallen off of Fantastic Four, but you're going to be very disappointed about something.
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. You should be on Fantastic Four, because it's continually one of the more consistent books, I think. Fantastic Four number 12 is written by Ryan North, with pencils by Pat Boutin. Inks are by Serge Lapointe. Colors are by Edgar Delgado. And letters are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this issue has some timey-wimey stuff going on. And I think the part that Roddykat is referring to has to deal with facial hair that is mimicked not by who you think it was, not by who you might think it would be mimicked by, but at the end of the day, it's also the only other person that it makes sense on. So, ultimately the timey-wiminess of it is just fun, because we're dealing with real world events. We're dealing with real world actions and ramifications when it comes to some story points. Did you take a look, Roddykat? Have you had a chance to? I have not. Have you looked into whether or not the artifact that they're talking about here is real?
Oh, I have not. No, actually.
Okay. While you're talking, I will Google and see if, in fact, this is real. But I like this. I like this issue very much.
Wait, if you're talking about the artifact that came out of it, or you're talking about the one that came in kind of earlier on?
The one that came out of it.
Okay. Oh, I just took that as a byproduct of that happened. But so no, I did not look into it. But yeah, while you're looking at that, I will say that this was a fun read. So as I just haven't said, it's definitely some timey-wimey stuff. The hair thing is kind of funny. You got another character looking like a new wave Doctor Strange now, thanks to their continual body horror. And speaking of Doctor Strange, we'll be talking about it in a little bit. So, but it's also just a it's not a solo mission, but it is it's a dual mission with Reed and Johnny because of the timey-wiminess and what they get into in the past. And it is kind of fun. If you know, even if you've dropped off the book, I don't think you have to worry about too much about reading this one and saying, hey, how did I miss that? But you know, because it's nothing that's connected to anything else so far. I'm sure something might come out of this later down the line, because Ryan North is good for like, hey, here's a little one-off thing that happened in this issue that's going to come back later on. In fact, the people that they end up going up against, the Reed and Johnny end up going up against, has been in the last couple of issues. That's probably the only other thing, because of what's been going on, you know, well, what happened on Earth while they were out in space, and ended up having to come back up. So I thought that was just one off. It was like, no, they're back. Some would say, if you know about Invincible, or even if you watched Invincible and you think about the Flaxons, I believe that's what they call the race that keeps coming in and out every now and then. It's like, hey, we're bigger and better now. A similar thing happened in this book, sorta.
Got it.
And it's like, I wonder if that's going to be a thing going forward, or what happens here is just that. We shall see. But it was definitely a fun read, and yeah, you should definitely check it out. Also, if you check out the cover, it's a Roman numeral 12. That should give you an idea of where this is set place. But also, well, the picture on the cover, if you're watching the video version, and comments I made earlier. Did you find out your?
So I did.
info?
I did. It's real.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's not just a wiki article. There's an article in Smithsonian Magazine about this particular item being, you know, one of like roughly 130 or so discovered across Europe. So yeah, you may want to just kind of Google that. That's it's a pretty fun rabbit hole.
So Ryan North did his homework, and Sue, while still upset, well, not necessarily upset, still embarrassed for for what she ended up having to do at the end of this because of what happened, was an actual thing. That's funny. Okay. Go, you know what? Shout out to Ryan North for doing his homework.
Right. I mean, I was about to say he is one of those writers that does do his homework. That, you know, like before his time on Fantastic Four, I knew of him as I forget what the title title of the book was, and published by Image that he did, but you know, I can always Google that. But he's definitely let's say he does his research.
Gotcha. I was about to say, you definitely weren't talking about Squirrel Girl, but even though he was on that book, but but cool.
No.
Well, while you're looking at that, Von Gloom, I guess, must have looked at the book and said that Reed reminded me of that one time Jim Carrey was at the award show dressed as a hippie. Oh, right. Reed looks like the weed connecting gentrified areas of BKBX, etc.
Oh, no.
Wouldn't know, sir, but that's funny. That's funny. Because I probably, well, from movies anyway, could know who the kind of person you're talking about, and yeah, that kind of tracks. But yeah, therein lies that. We are going to go into, because I can't remember, there was something else I was going to say about this book, but we're going to go into rapid fire.
Rapid fire review time, folks. Here we go.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, rapid fire reviews starts with me, Batman number 10, written by Matt Fraction, with art by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tomar Re, letters by Clayton Cowles, with Jorge Jimenez. So we're getting more, you know, Gotham action when it comes to what the current status quo is. We've already in this issue dealt with what's happened to Barbara Gordon in the previous issue, and we've already had you know, some of the fallout from that in her in her solo series. I don't know if it's a mini series, but in her solo series, in this issue, the Bat family strikes back, right? Because the GCPD under Vandal Savage and under or operating under the pretense of Poison Ivy being the mayor of Gotham, have dealt some serious setbacks to the Bat family. But in this issue, the Bat family strike back, and they do so in fairly poetic terms. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man number 30. It's written by Joe Kelly with art by Pete Woods, and letters are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. In this issue, we get a little bit of insight into what Joe Kelly has been doing with these kind of flashback sequences with Peter and let's just call him. His name escapes me because I need to get our review copy up and running in front of me. But we'll call him Spore because that's what they've named him. Right? I wanted to call him Fungus Scientist, but ultimately in this issue we also have a big reveal of what I think is going to be the focus of the next issue. There's a big reveal of a character who has been in the background from the stuff going on with Torment, with the Death Spiral stuff, and that's going to be that's probably going to lead to some more stories down the road. Next up for me is Mark Spector Moon Knight number 5. It's written by Jed McKay with art by Devmali Pramonik. Color art is by Rochelle Rosenberg. Letters are by VC's Corey Petit. In this issue, Mark Spector is kind of laid low. A villain from a previous story arc returns, a previous volume of Moon Knight, because, one of the things that's a little bit off-putting about Moon Knight right now is that they're jumping from volume to volume, number 1 to number 1, and subtly changing the title from Moon Knight to Mark Spector Moon Knight to Fist of Khonshu Moon Knight. It's a little on the frustrating side for me as a collector, but I like that in this there's some continuity and some consistency, because the writing has been by Jed McKay this entire time. And I think the art has also been Devmali Pramonik pretty much this entire time. I want to say Rochelle Rosenberg has been on this the entire time. And the lettering, I'm going to presume, has stayed consistent this entire time. And I like this. I like the way they're depicting Mark as being dedicated to his Midnight Mission people. And now he needs to find some help because he has run into an obstacle that's a bit too big for him to deal with on his own. Last but not least is Uncanny X-Men number 29. It's written by Gail Simone with art by Luciano Vecchio. Color art is by Matthew Wilson, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. Something rather unexpected happened in this issue for me. I did not think that the X-Men would kind of reach a point in dealing with the new residents of the Xavier School, the Xavier Mansion, in this issue. And I like that they're choosing not to conclude that particular story point, that story arc, by going back there. But we'll see what happens in the next issue, because I think 30 may be a bit of a jumping on point. So I'm a big fan of what Gail Simone has done in her run in Uncanny. I definitely recommend it. And that's it for me this week. Handing the baton off to Roddykat.
Alrighty, for me, we start off with Absolute Green Lantern number 15, written by Al Ewing, art by Sid Koshian, colors by Pressy, letters by Lucas Gattoni. So we're still on, basically, Joe and crew are still out in space. They have run up against some resistance in the form of the Blackstars, near Rand, if I'm not mistaken, there were. Tomar Re, who is in this iteration, is a Red Lantern, and he had other plans. Well, he basically has exposed his plans to Joe as to what he wanted to get out of this whole scenario, while the others are taking up against the Blackstars. One of which, who, funnily enough, I know this much about Green Lantern lore. John Stewart, who in this version is a Gold Lantern, I guess, if you want to. I guess that's the closest way. They're just calling them by their colors in a way. They're not necessarily kind of calling them. Well, I guess a couple of them being called lanterns, but whatever. Some of them folks are still figuring out their power set, such as Hal Jordan, who is not green. He's actually purple, pink, whatever the one. But basically, he's a Star Sapphire. And one of the Blackstars, who just so happens to know John Stewart in the main universe, was the one who tried to go up against him. You know, kind of might say hurt him with words and not necessarily physically, because apparently they found out that hey, he can't really be hurt because of things and stuff and things. So yeah, a good bit's going on in this. And also, if you know anything about Green Lantern lore, then you know that there is a certain name that will eventually show up in a way, and that name was broken down and shown up at the end of this issue. So how they're going to use that particular character in this version of the universe, find out, true believers. Wait, that's a different universe.
Yeah.
But anyway, next up, DC. Oh wait, did I not put this one in there? Shoot, crap. DC Sonic the just pretend that it's in there, folks. How about that? We're just gonna move over here for a second. DC Sonic the Hedgehog, the Metal Legion, number 205, because apparently I forgot to put the cover in. Written by Ian Flynn, art by Adam Bryce Thomas, colors by Matt Herms, and letters by Becca Carey. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, so this whole situation is, well, boys, one, this is a continuation from the last crossover that DC and Sonic had, which was only a few months ago, so it wasn't that long ago. The worlds of Sonic and DC have been linked by portals that mysteriously popped up all over the Earth. So you see characters from Sonic the Hedgehog and DC bleeding over into each other. But guess what? It was part of an intricate plot by, you guessed it, Lex Luthor and Dr. Eggman and crew. And the reason why I said the meanwhile at the Legion of Doom, because they do absolutely come into play here for the other part of the plan, because the porters were rendered, well, not rendered, but said to be benign by the Justice League, which apparently they didn't dig deep enough yet, because there's clearly something's going to happen with those. But the Legion of Doom kind of comes into play, and they do not really like Eggman all that much into this. And it's kind of funny in some of the interactions and some of the things that you see here and with that. But of course, there are a couple of characters in here that they get along quite nicely, let's just say, for having similar goals, and in this particular case, even in their alignment, kind of go a ways in this issue. And the artist clearly has been wanting to draw Rogue in a Catwoman suit, because they did it. Congratulations. And we also find out that Lex and Eggman are more alike than probably either one would admit to. But it's a fun read. You should check it out if you are interested in any of that. Next book is also a potential click of the week for me. and that is Iron Man #6, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Juan Cabal, color artist Nolan Woodard, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So, if you're watching the video version, you can see, yes, the spider does indeed show up in this book with Iron Man, especially if you saw the end of last issue. And yes, Norman Osborn also shows up in this book because apparently, and I know Agent 70 might end up reading it, and I think you should because it's a fun read.
Okay.
We kind of see, we basically get the story from what has already happened, but then it goes back and, it's kind of one of those, well, hey, here we are right now, and I need to know what happened, and starts off that way and then goes back to what actually happened. So I'm just going to say that Tony and Norman Osborn meet up for reasons that might have gotten out of hand for a little bit, and probably not in the way that either one would have initially wanted to, or maybe they would. Who's to know? And of course, the Spidey is because of Spidey's involvement with, at the very least, one of them gets kind of caught in the middle, but also is trying to keep. Spidey is the voice of reason here, folks. Let that sink in for a second.
Wow.
In a certain specific way. Let's put this away. But also, if you know the names I've just mentioned and his tie to the very least one of them, and what's currently going on in his book, you kind of understand why.
Right.
So, but regardless, it all ends up making into a fun read from the book. There may be, as what I'm starting to call them, a new Illuminati that shows up in this of folks and it sounds like the next issue is going to answer a question that we've been wondering about since like one of the first couple of issues, and apparently I might have been wrong about who I thought a certain person was, which is fine because I wasn't really entirely sure at that time anyway. So we're probably going to get the answer to that next issue. Next up, oh shoot, here we go. Cyclops, number 5 of 5. That's it, folks. This story is over. Wrap it up. Written by Alex Packnadell, art by Roger Antonio, color artist Fer Cifuentes Sujo, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna once again. So yeah, again, last issue of the book. It's Cyclops and some other mutant kids that are newly found kids. Scott's doing his best Die Hard, well, kind of sort of doing his best Die Hard impression, but he was also kind of had a little bit of help. Against Reaver, Donald Pierce, and some Reavers that just so happened to be patching the plan that he stumbled into, that Cyclops stumbled into, and this pretty much ends how that goes. And it also seems to kind of go a specific way for one of those names that I mentioned, one of those latter names that I mentioned in the book, and maybe Cyclops has been recentered. We don't know, but he's coming out of this book. If once you check out the last page, you can get the sense of like, hey, maybe he has been recentered in his mission again. But we shall see, because you got to tune into X-Men, the adjectiveless X-Men book to see how that goes, if that actually is the case, or if this was just a holdover, story for something else. Doctor Strange, number 7 is my next book, written by Derek Landy, art by Ivan Fiorelli, whose name has actually come up recently in a video game form, so shout out. Color artist Dono Sanchez Almara, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. Or Petit, I don't know, I think it is Petit. It really is. So Steve is still in Asgard. He's still, teamed up with Angela. If you're watching the video version, you can see a certain sometimes adversary of Thor has popped up in this issue because hey, she might have she might have some feeling about what's going on in the book, and that is, hey, Steve's been dealing with this dude named Verboten. There's some other character, another big ass hulking character that just popped up in the book in last issue, if I'm not mistaken, who really doesn't like magic, and have been going out snuffing out magic users. So of course the person that shows up in this book has a stake in, you know, not letting that happen to them. So some information is shared. Some things happen with Verboten. Doc and Angela go back to heaven and find out what's going on there with Verboten, and maybe leading into, you know, all of that stuff coming together. And also there is a MCU issue. I've said this last issue, the last time we talked about it. There's an MCU leaning Strange that keeps popping up in this book, and that Steven keeps being a little too free and popping popping up as, let's just say. So I'm sure there's going to be something happening with that at some point in time. Last book for me is X-Men 97 Season 2, number 1 of 5. This is the prequel book before the actual Season 2 happens in, actually, not long from now. Now that I think about it, I think it's in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that.
Yeah, but it's written by Steve Fox, art by Salva Espin, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by BC's Joe Sabino. And as I said, it takes place before Season 2, but after Season 1. So the X-Men, if you remember what happened at the end of Season 1, the actual Season 1 of X-Men 97, the X-Men has been split in time, and there's some folks still are left in the present. But of course, as a lot of folks believe, and that old chestnut tends to happen every now and then, folks think that the X-Men are dead. So, you know, but some, you know, adjacent folks don't believe that and know for a fact that that's not the case, because they also are time travelers. So, you know, they would probably want to believe that such a thing. So you have Bishop and Forge kind of teaming up to try to find where the X-Men went to. You have Jubilee and Sunspot kind of in the, you know, at a memorial for the X-Men, and we see some let's just say X Factor adjacent babies, not necessarily actual babies, but some folks that piled around with X Factor. And I'm talking about the original X Factor folks. I'm not talking about the later books. I'm talking about the original folks that they ended up adopting, not necessarily adopting, but you know, come across that have come into this book. They may end up going into the actual season. Don't know. We'll see. And then also a version of X Factor and X Force also pop up. So, and I think X Factor, well, the X Factor in universe of this has definitely popped up in the season. So it's pretty much them against what could possibly be a version of X Force, but was not yet named. But it's definitely a familiar grouping of folks you would find in that group, let's just say. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Like I said, it's 5 issues, and I'm sure whatever happens here may or may not pop up in actual Season 2. But, you know, we shall see. That's it for me. Kliqs of the week.
All righty, Kliqs of the week.
I got a couple if you don't have yours already.
No, I've got a couple of candidates. I definitely
Okay.
have a couple of candidates. I think Batman number 10 is a strong candidate. I think that FF number 12 is a strong candidate, and I think the Uncanny X-Men number 29 is a strong candidate. How about you?
Oh yeah. You said Uncanny. I did not read that last one, but I do like that cover. I agree with Fantastic Four number 12. I'm also saying Iron Man number 6. There's that right there. DC Sonic, I still didn't get the cover of it, so I'm not even gonna show it. But DC Sonic Hedgehog, the Metro Legion number 2 of 5 is also there. I should have pulled that up while you were talking, or while I was talking. But X-Men 97 Season 2 number 1 of 5 was also good, but that's probably not gonna make the running. So it's just FF, DC Sonic, and Iron Man number 6.
Gotcha. I think for me, I'm gonna go with Batman number 10.
Okay.
I thought Fraction and Jimenez's execution on this book was really solid.
Okay. That sounds like a plan in a quarter there. So there's his book. And I think for myself, I did love FF. FF was really, really good, but I think I'm actually going to go with Iron Man #6 for this one.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it was a really fun read to me. Not in the way that I thought it was going to go. Well, actually, kind of did go partially the way I thought it was going to go, but I thought it was going to come from another angle, especially with what we know that's what Tony's starting to do and what Norman is actually doing in another book right now. So therein lies that. And with that, folks, those are our Kliqs of the weeks. We are going to go into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read for this episode is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/WINC. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
All right, cinematic news as we do about this time. Man of Tomorrow reveals Nicholas Hoult in comics accurate Lex Luthor war suit. I don't know why I wanted to say that so slowly, but I felt it necessary. Yeah, apparently. Now, granted, I don't see an actual picture. Oh, yeah, no, there it is. Yeah, I guess
it's right at the top. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that looked like more of a render and not him actually. So
Gotcha.
But yeah, so if you're watching the video version, you can see said suit and with the side-by-side comparison. Yeah, definitely does look close. You get, for a live action version of that suit.
Right.
That's not terrible looking, I guess. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a figure of it. So therein lies that. Next up.
Alrighty, next up, the final trailer for 2026's Supergirl movie is here to remind you why its Women of Tomorrow subtitle was dropped from the DC comic book universe. Or is she the Woman of Yesterday now?
No, they just dropped it. It's just Supergirl.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So
I did watch a little bit of that trailer. I was like, okay, I don't necessarily need to see it, but I'll check the people.
I was about to say I didn't watch it. So
Yeah.
was it? It's the third and final trailer, right?
Mm-hmm. Because that movie's coming out fairly soon. So
yeah, I'm not watching that. That's crazy. Because that movie's going to come out in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yep. Yeah, it's like 3 weeks. Yeah.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm. And not long after that, which is, well, we'll get into that in a second. But
right. So apparently the latest teaser spells out why.
Presumably.
For those unaware, the DCU movie is heavily inspired by Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, aka the 2021 graphic novel series created by Tom King and Bilquis Evely. Let's see. So fast forward to April 2026, and it starts to become clear that Supergirl would not be the comic book adaptation that many fans might be hoping for. So, it's the trailer indicates that it would only be inspired by Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the book, as opposed to a one-to-one translation of the story within its pages. Something very Marvel of DC to do.
I mean, DC as well, but yeah, you're right. I mean, because both of the translations of stuff in the movies have not been always one-to-one. Maybe, I guess, Watchmen might have been close. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, this I'm like, I have not read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, so I don't know. I wouldn't have known whether it was going to be close or not, judging by the trailer or not. But I was like, okay, this is sure, if you say so. That's all I can say.
I've got a copy of the trade on my bookshelf. I haven't cracked it open.
Yeah, I got a way to read it. I just haven't, so I might try to pour through that before the movie drops. We'll see. Still got a couple of weeks. And watch me not do that. But next up, though, so the next article is basically about Abdul Mateen II's, basically going up for or what he did when he got Wonder Man, and him talking to Feige. So, and apparently he was in George Fury's Furiosa movie, but he walked away from it. So that was another thing. But so yeah, he says, let's see. So there was a phone call from about Wonder Man that came up, and he was asked about it, and he was like, "Did the character feel familiar?" And he was like, giggled and said, "Yeah, just a little bit." And he basically said, in true J. Jonah Jameson fashion, "Get Kevin Feige on the phone." I guess when you found out about it, he's a quote here saying, "I only get one of these Marvel bucks to spend." So, so yeah, he went and talked to, he basically tried to get to talk to Kevin Feige, and his agent was like, I don't know, he might be kind of busy. And, but they, eventually met up and they talked about it, and he got the role. So therein lies that. Like I said, this article goes a little bit more into that, but that's the gist of it. So just check it out, though. Interesting article. Next up,
Marvel fans have reacted in disappointed after a much anticipated Avengers Doomsday tease turned out to be for a Doctor Doom themed coffee shop in London. The pop-up branch of Dom Latveria Coffee, in reality a rebranded Flying Horse coffee outlet in Shoreditch, is open now in East London, located near the South by Southwest London Festival. It's at that festival that Avengers Doomsday directors Joe and Anthony Russo appeared to talk about their production company. Rather than offering new insight on their Marvel work, this coffee outlet down the road now appears to be the thing that their colleague Donald Mustard, previously boss of Fortnite, recently teased. So apparently, the tease was that Joe and Anthony Russo would appear at the Doctor Doom themed pop-up coffee shop.
interesting. I did not know about the Donald.
Yeah, a couple of Easter eggs. And while there was no new Avengers Doomsday trailer, two notable elements from the pop-up are worth flagging. Firstly, the slogan Richards was wrong was seen in the shop. And secondly, the full reveal of the Latverian flag that had previously been teased on social media was revealed. Okay.
And probably no version of Latverian version of We Built the City was being played, I'm sure.
Yeah. Was it on Rock and Roll?
Probably not. Blood and sweat, more likely. But next up, you should be reading this one, but that's okay. Dodgers star, I don't even know if you like the Dodgers, but Dodgers star Mookie Betts to guest on Iron Man and His Awesome Friends. That's going to happen actually in a couple of days. June 11th on Disney Junior, and the next day on Disney Plus. So for any of you interested in that, that's going to happen again a couple of days after this recording. So let's see. Wait, the first animated Iron Man, preschool, in case you didn't know, preschool series return with new episodes on Thursday, June 11th, on Disney Junior. Disney Junior. First 11 episodes will be available to stream on Disney Plus in the U.S. and select international markets the following day on Friday, June the 12th. And if you did not know, it's Iron Man, Riri, and Amadeus Cho, or chibi, I was going to say chibi versions, but not necessarily, but hey, younger versions of those characters.
Right, like kawaii versions, right?
Yes, more so than, yes, exactly. Let's say the new episode kicks off with a giant-sized armor story arc where Iron Friends take on an even bigger challenges and bring them face to face with a new lineup of heroes and baddies, including Thor, Loki, and Odin. So there you go, folks. Next up. Oh wait, hold on. Wait, LA Dodgers superstar Mookie Betts will guest star as Dizzy Doubleday, a baseball player who loves to help young kids learn the game. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. And apparently some other ESPN folks have also been on the show. And Alan Ruck is playing Odin. There you go. Next up.
Amazon Prime members will have exclusive early screenings for Sony Pictures' Spider-Man Brand New Day on July 29th in select theaters. That's 2 full days before the movie officially drops. Customers who want to be notified when tickets go on sale on Fandango can sign up for alerts. I signed up. You should as well if you are a Prime member. The film, again, releases wide in U.S. theaters on July 31st, 2026.
Absolutely. Therein lies that. I forgot to put this in for some stupid reason. Forgot to put this in last week's show, but it's probably good that the Age of 70 is here for this. Star Wars returns to theaters for 50th anniversary. That's not the new news because we knew about that already. The news is what version we're getting, and it is. I believe I saw somewhere else it's going to be in 4K, or maybe I'm thinking about something. But basically, it's going to be the theatrical version of Star Wars, aka A New Hope. So it's the version that people actually want.
Wow,
AKA.
it's the non-animated Jabba.
Yes. So there's from this and someplace else is like there's going to be a new it's a new render of it that they did for this. I think for weirdly enough, the Star Wars.com story is not saying the stuff that I'm saying, but I know I've seen this in other places. But it's a newly restored version. They are saying that part of the theatrical version. So yeah. So oh, and is the date we already knew. I guess we already knew. I can't remember, but it's going to be on February 19th, 2027. That will be the 50th anniversary, and that's when it's going to be re-released to theaters at that time. So stay tuned for that for when that's going to happen. If you want to see it in the movies, lasers, like I did when I was a little one. Next up.
Marshall Lucas, in sad news, Marshall Lucas, Oscar-winning Star Wars editor, dies at the age of 80. So Marshall Lucas, the film editor who won an Oscar for editing Star Wars, directed by her former husband, George Lucas, and shaped several influential films of the 1970s, died this past Wednesday in Rancho Mirage, California. She was 80. Unfortunately, the family's attorney confirmed she died of cancer. Fuck cancer.
Yes. So don't quote me on this, but I believe there in the past decade or 2 or 10 or 20, there was rumblings of she may or may not have been the reason why Lucas didn't want to didn't want to put Star Wars A New Hope back in the theaters as it was, and that's why the special editions happened. Again, don't quote me on that, but that was just things I heard in passing since the special editions came out. Also, weirdly, weird that granted she just passed and that that re-release is happening now. Coincidence? But I have seen people out there like Ming-Na Wen, showering praises on her, and it is also sad, and also like Agent 7 said, fuck cancer. Apparently she had also edited some other stuff like Return of the Jedi, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore by Martin Scorsese, Taxi Driver, and New York. So she was, people know. And I don't think there might be some people talking about like she didn't want her story being told or something like that. But I don't know if that's gonna, because apparently she's had quite a storied history. So don't know. Next up, though, and Anthony Stewart Head, and I keep wanting to, and I think he doesn't go by his middle name anymore, or he wasn't anyway. But Anthony Head of Buffy and Ted Lasso, which I did not know that part, is dead. And apparently this is 5 months after his longtime partner also passed away. So he died at 72 due to pneumonia complications, sadly. So yeah, rest in peace, Giles.
Or Rupert, as I knew him in Ted Lasso.
Wait, he went by. That's funny because Rupert is his first name in Buffy. So they basically took that as a okay. That's an Easter egg. That's funny. That is funny. Oh yeah, and it does say it here, Rupert Mannion. Yeah, that's fun. That's a nice little Easter egg. But yeah, like I said, rest in peace, Giles. And I've seen people like Sarah Michelle Gellar and other people, of course, sending condolences and whatnot to his family. And after that happened, next,
I think he's going to appear in the next season of Ted Lasso.
Oh yeah,
I think that's already in the can. So this will be this is definitely going to be released posthumously.
Yeah. So that I guess that will possibly be his last recorded works.
Right.
So yeah, and Avon Gloom also says Rip Giles. So there you go. Edge 7, you want this next one?
Sure. I mean, it's my turn. So
yeah, that's true.
Mortal Kombat 2 home release dates confirmed by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers announced digital and physical release dates for Mortal Kombat 2. So, Mortal Kombat 2 will be available for purchase digitally on June 9th, with the physical release of the film coming at some point in July. Let's say July 28th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all lucky. I almost pulled up the Mortal Kombat theme. We're not gonna do that. But yeah, I felt like that was weirdly short, but at the same time, probably not.
Right.
So because it's only one is the digital version. We don't have a physical release just yet. Here's the poster for the thing. There you go. If you're watching the video version, it's the people you'd expect to see, minus everybody else. But yeah, next up, Stargate TV series from Martin Gero, not moving forward at Amazon. Boo! But probably no surprise. The show was first announced with a series order in November 2025. It hailed from writer, executive producer, and showrunner Martin Gero, who was a writer on Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis early in his career. According to an individual with knowledge of the situation, Amazon execs were concerned that Gero's take on the series would not have broad appeal beyond the franchise's already dedicated fan base. So what's wrong with that? Because that fan base is pretty large. I mean, it's sizable. I wouldn't say large because people love those shows. I'm one of them. I like SG-1. I can't say anything about Universe. But yeah, so I guess it's not going to happen. There is that. Next up.
All right, so we're going to cross over into comic book news at this point, right?
Indeed.
Ablaze will publish a print edition of the Eisner, goodness gracious editors, will publish a print edition of the Eisner-nominated digital comic The Lycan, which was previously released on Comixology Originals, based on a story by actor Thomas Jane, who we know as Frank Castle from the 2004 film The Punisher, and writer-producer David James Kelly, scripted by the unwritten writer Mike Carey, with art by Diego Yapur and colors by DC Alonso. The comic is the first release from Thomas Jane's production label, Renegade Entertainment. All right.
You would think that would have been Lorenzo Lamas's production company.
Oh no!
Yeah. Also, Thomas Jane was in The Expanse. If folks know that series, but yeah, and also you know how old this was when they say Comixology Originals, because Comixology does not exist anymore. I mean, I don't know even if the originals thing is still around anymore, but yeah, Comixology as a thing does not. So, but yeah, so I guess we're gonna get a print version of that or somewhere out there. Good luck. Next up, Dark Horse fired its founder, but Mike Richardson isn't leaving the building because he owns it. So according to this this Popverse article, let's see. Over the years, Richardson used some of the profits from Dark Horse to buy several pieces of prime real estate in the Milwaukee area. While at first, that should have been a comma there. It was owned by Dark Horse. According to the Oregonian, he had been in recent years, assuming while he was still its primary owner, moving Dark Horse's real estate holdings into a separate company of his own, titled Suburban Exploration. Now, with unexpected free time due to his layoffs as Dark Horse's top boss back in March, Richardson is moving ahead with a new business venture while still being landlord and owner of at least one of Dark Horse's offices in Milwaukee. So, and that's also another typo right there in Milwaukee when you head it to right above. You know what? Let me shut up. Editing, folks, editing, and I can't talk, but I will. So, Richardson has announced plans to turn one of his buildings in downtown Milwaukee, once again, still typo, into a pop culture museum, tentatively titled the Milwaukee once again, unless that's intentional, but I don't think it is, because he's got to spell it right. Anyway, editing, man, folks. Yeah, let's see. It would be called the Milwaukee Pop Culture Museum. It would be a celebration of comics, film, and TV, including some things he picked up over the years, such as props and costumes from Dark Horse's affiliated movie franchises such as Alien, Predator, The Mask, and Barbed Wire. It also says where the museum is, so I don't necessarily need to give the address because I don't know where that place is. It doesn't say whether it's open or not. Oh yeah, here we go. Richardson plans for the Milwaukee Pop Culture, again with the typo, the Pop Culture Museum to be open by the end of 2026. I'm going to look this up and see if actually that's how they spell it, because they really how you go from spelling the city the state right twice and then go anyway. Next up.
Dark Horse Management has just released a statement recognizing Dark Horse Workers United, a union that was just announced last week. The Dark Horse Workers United was announced last week with today, June 3rd, as the deadline earlier this week, as the deadline for Dark Horse Management to voluntarily recognize it. A majority of 59 workers at the Milwaukee-based publisher editor voted for the union, which is recognized as part of Communication Workers of America, Local 7901. Good for them.
And to that I say, yeah, because we had talked about it last week in the show. So they recognize it fast. Some would also say, that's a good bit of press for them for doing so, but that what a cynical person would say. Says cynical person. Exclusive preview: Teen Detective Goldie Vance, I remember reading that book, is on the case in new supersized paperback trade collection. Let's see. So Teen Detective Goldie Vance is a comics character created by Eisner Award winner Hope Larson and artist Brittany Williams. Publisher Boom Studios is set to release a supersized 224-page paperback edition collecting the first 8 issues of the acclaimed Teen Detective series. And then it goes into a preview and some solicited information on that in this article. If you're interested in that, you should check that out. It's basically like young mixed race Nancy Drew. So yeah, good stuff. I remember. Next up,
All right, 90s animated icons. God, that's some serious hyperbole. Biker mice from Mars are ready for their pop culture revival with a comic book introducing a new character into the series named Scorch. The new 4-issue series, written by Matt Hodson and illustrated by Nightwing artist V. Ken Marion, wow, will introduce the new character Scorch. Okay.
I want to say that book came out last week, did it not? I might be mistaken, but I think I might have. Nope, August 12th. I was wrong. So, but I think I might have seen this, something for this and Solicit last week. So, yeah, we'll put that for next week. Next up, though, let's see, boom. Shaquille O'Neal teams up with Archie Comics and Stephanie Williams. I'm just going to put that out there right off the bat to develop a comic book series, Vengeance Unchained: The Legend of Black Caesar. So, instead of telling people how they asking people how they ask, he's getting into comic books. So yeah, let's see. It's a new comic series about the rise of the mythological West African pirate Black Caesar. Stephanie Williams, as I just said, will write the series, while Ray Anthony Height and Studio Sky Tiger will handle the art. The official logline for Vengeance Unchained reads, quote, an African king with extraordinary physical presence. How much you want to bet it's going to look like Shaq. Must navigate the brutal transformation from royalty to slavery to piracy, searching for his kidnapped love while discovering that freedom in the Caribbean comes only to those willing to take it by force. So yeah, everybody and their grandmother who is usually not into comic books are starting to get into comic books, and that's frightening. There's a quote here from Shaq, but I'm not going to read it. Next up.
Oni Press has announced that Ben H. Winters will replace Ice Cream Man writer W. Maxwell Prince as the writer for Oni's flagship Archie comic, as the publisher launches a new set of licensed Archie comics. Interesting that Archie is licensed to Oni Press. As previously announced, the artists for the series will be Fabio Moon and Nick Cagnetti, and Stuart Immonen is the cover artist for Archie #1, which will be released in September 2026.
Yeah, when we first talked about them doing that, I said the exact same thing, and I'm sitting here like, that's weird, because Archie's still putting out books, but I think it's like more digest and old stuff. I'm not sure. Right. Well, I think they are still putting out like new stuff, but I think this is. I wonder if this is putting some of that stuff where it's like, this is not OG Archie. This is like, hey, this is the new stuff Archie. Like, this is the stuff we want to do with Archie stuff. I don't know. Don't know. We'll see. Next up, though, IDW unveils TMNT 300, blind bag covers. So yeah, let's see. As previously announced, the milestone 300th issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW is set to be a major event kicking off the blockbuster storyline, The City That Never Dies. Excuse me, I said the wrong thing. You know. Shout out to Alicia Keys. And featuring a fan-focused blind bag cover program with all-star artists. Let's see, pre-orders closed this past Monday the 1st. IDW has unveiled truly stunning blind bag exclusive covers by best-selling artists Juan Ferreira and Ito, and the first look at some interior artwork. If you're watching the video version, you can see some interiors right there, and I'm assuming this is, yep, that's one of the covers. That's some more interior work. Oh yeah, right there. There you go. Yeah, good looking stuff. Cool. Next up,
the Beat website exclusively revealed that Clover Press and Aspen Comics have announced a Kickstarter campaign titled The DC Art of Michael Turner, a deluxe hardcover collecting the DC Comics artwork of the late comic creator, the 9x12 deluxe hardcover edition. from Clover and Aspen will collect much of Turner's DC Comics work in one comprehensive, oversized volume, including his interpretations of iconic DC superheroes Batman, Superman, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, the Justice League, and many more. This is going to be 200 plus pages. How much is it to back? So it hasn't gone live yet, apparently.
Right.
So you can sign up to be notified when the DC Art of Michael Turner Kickstarter goes live.
All right. Black Comics Alliance calls out hashtag DC Blackout boycott, which I'm just going to go ahead and spoiler alert, it didn't quite happen. And matter of fact, there is a video in the clickbait section of the show notes that may explain what happened and why, or what was supposed to happen and why it possibly did not. But the Black Comics Alliance, organizers of the DC So White campaign, launched a second phase of their public protest, hashtag DC Blackout, an organized boycott of DC Comics until they implement, quote, meaningful structural changes. Meaningful structural changes are made regarding Black representation in their mainline continuity. The Black Comics Alliance is a collective of content creators, journalists, and comic creators focused on amplifying Black voices, supporting Black creators, and pushing for equitable representation throughout the comic books industry. Through campaigns, journalism, community outreach, and industry accountability efforts, the organization works to ensure Black readers and creators are not treated as just temporary initiatives, but as foundational parts of the medium's future. That is the tagline for that. So yeah, like I said, there was supposedly something that was supposed to happen and it didn't necessarily go off. And again, there's a video in the clickbait section that would explain that in a way. Next up, though,
In an exclusive preview, Spider-Man faces a shattered reality in What If Secret Wars #1. So it's what if the Ultimate Universe survived the Secret Wars. Interesting. So this is a one-shot by writer Alex Packnadel and artist Cafu that asks that big question left behind by Jonathan Hickman and Esad Rabich's landmark Secret Wars. What if the Ultimate Universe survived? Okay.
the weird part about that, we kind of got that question with the current Ultimate Universe. That is, I guess that is still a version of a version, though. The way they're playing that, but that universe is still getting killed off again. And by the way, the What If, I think What If X-Men came out last week. We didn't read it. I didn't read it. Next up, though, actually, I'm gonna take this one and the next one because they're kind of joined. Avengers Armageddon changes the face of Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It's a 5-issue event by Chip Zdarsky, Frank Alpizar, and Delio Diaz, which leads into a new era of Avengers. Hey, guess what? Which is going to be written by Chip Zdarsky and Marco Checchetto, which is the next story, by the way. So yeah, the next the Avengers #1 is going to be in September, and this lineup is a very Bendis-esque as lineup, if I do say so myself. But yeah, so in the last story, just to wrap up the last one, there's a trailer. I think it's supposed to be in that article, but I can't see it for some reason, for Avengers Armageddon. But I do know there is absolutely a trailer because I saw it out on YouTube. And there's the cover for that first issue, and the cover for Avengers #1, which again, that is going to be in. Oh wait, I'm sorry, not September. It's going to be November 4th. My mistake. So I thought they said September. But regardless, it's going to be, there's the cover right there, and there is the lineup that is going to come out of Armageddon, which you would think they would have not, Solicitors would have explored that anyway at some point, but you would have think they would have kind of waited until Armageddon actually happened to announce this, but Marvel spoils themselves a lot. Next up.
Jerry Duggan teases who's coming out to play with the King of Monsters and King in Black with the first look at Godzilla Conquers the Multiverse #1. You got to do something with that license.
Right.
So, artist on this book is Javier Garron. So yeah, this is some Godzilla stuff in the multiverse, the Marvel multiverse. Okay.
And I believe that Infinity War, if that's not a Infinity comic, came out last week as well, but neither one of us are reading that stuff. So, next up, though, Fan Expo Denver 2026 has apparently there was a panel for the science of Spider-Man, and they explored the web slinger's spectacular abilities. And I think this article is basically going into what that panel talked about, and we don't necessarily have to go through it all here, but you can pretty much guess by the name of it what it goes into. But you can read this article for yourself. Next up.
All right. Marvel launches Marvel Tokon First Strike #1 comic and variants for the new in connection with the new fighting game. So this is set to coincide with the game's launch. Marvel Comics is releasing Marvel Tokon First Strike #1, a special anthology one-shot written by Steve Orlando, Tom Waltz, and Josh Trujillo, with art by Bruno Boule, Athila Fabio, and Ryusei Yamada. The comic spotlights the game's featured factions, the Fighting Avengers, and the Unbreakable X-Men, while expanding the mythology behind the game's world. Okay. The readers will also get more insight into the game's villains, the promoter, and champion, alongside original stories set within the Tokon universe. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, yeah, this is another one that I forgot to put in the lineup for last week, but it's just as well that I forgot to put it in the lineup because the next story is about, well, again, like I said earlier, Summer Games Fest is going on. Sony had its state of play a few days ago, which gave us new trailers for Marvel's Wolverine, and of course the next team coming into Marvel Tokon's Fighting Souls, which is the villains team, the Knights of Doom, led by Dr. Doom, Magneto, Green Goblin, and Carnage, because you know you got to have a freaking symbiote in one of these joints. But yeah, the trailers are attached to this article, which you can't see on my screen for some odd reason. And the Marvel's Wolverine trailer, of which they had a really nice big look at that rounded out the state of play a couple of days ago. Check it out. It's something. If you've ever played X-Men Origins Wolverine, you can kind of get a sense of they did their homework with that. And some familiar folks. If you blink and you miss, the familiar folks to the X universe pops up in that thing. Next up.
What do you got?
Oh no, that was well, I'll take this one too. Basically, hey, guess what, folks? There's a Uno X-Men game also from Mattel. So there's an X-Men version of Uno out there. It's kind of funny that Magneto is the reverse. I don't know what else to say about this. I hadn't really looked through all the calls for it, but it's $7. You can get it from Mattel Creations, and I'm pretty sure it'll be out there on the store near you at some point. But you know, familiar folks on the cards. So you know, if you're watching the video version, you can see some folks that you would know. It's also funny that Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat, is 0. No, stop. That's not. That's funny. Anyway, next up.
Hasbro's G.I. Joe Comic-Con 2026 exclusive figures have been revealed. The first one is a bit larger than normal. It's the G.I. Joe Classified Series Fatal Fluffies for $54.99. That's wild, son.
They are
the
digging.
Fatal Fluffies.
They are
based on the Pyramid
digging.
of Darkness miniseries from the 80s, the Fatal Fluffies are cute and fuzzy at first. That's included, but due to some Cobra interference, as they are wont to do, the adorable critters mutate and become something a little less cute. Yeah, they are definitely digging. But I got a kick out of the next deep dig. G.I. Joe Classified Series Shipwreck versus Cadet Deming for
Mhm.
$64.99. So the hot blonde Cobra Cadet Deming um, from the There's No Place Like Springfield two-part episode that sees Shipwreck interrogated in part by Cadet Deming. This 6-inch figure set is a bit more expensive than Fatal Furies, but comes with 2 figures and a bunch of accessories.
Mhm. There's the box right there. Yeah, that was pretty much it. So if they're announcing anything else after that, we'll find out. But these are the only things that were announced right now. I'm assuming that this the Fatal Flurry, Fatal Fluffies box is the front of the box and not the back. Well, it could be the back. I don't know. But that's very silly. Next up, though. Oh, you know what? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to take these next 4.
Oh
try not
my
to fall
God,
asleep.
you're gonna put me to sleep. Oh my God. Go
Well,
ahead.
you know, okay, fine. You can read. You can take the next
Go
one.
ahead.
Then. You take the next one. That's fine. I don't know if it's going to change your mood any differently, but
Right.
because this is a Magic the Gathering block of the show, folks. Magic's Marvel
Right.
Superheroes Dragon is so basically Fin Fan Foom is coming to the Marvel set for Magic the Gathering, which is going to be at the end of this month, by the way. And they've already started rolling up the campaign of that on Arena, because you can pre-order some stuff there. But yeah, Fin Fan Foom, it's going to be a card. If you're watching the video version, you can see it right there. Of course, it's flying. It's a 3/5. You see the text right there. I won't go through with it. Do you actually want me to take the next one, or you want? Or you?
No, I'll take it.
Okay,
I'll
next
take
one.
it. All right, next up, Magic the Gathering is kicking off their new Marvel themed set, and IGN has an exclusive first look at Winter Soldier Icy Assassin. The card, which is a new rare from the set, showcases legendary assassin Bucky Barnes with awesome artwork from Riccardo Federici and Todd Nock. And yeah, okay. There's the card right there on the site as shown to you by Roddykat.
And hey, Ricardo. Wait, didn't we have Riccardo Federici was on a book earlier? I mean, they generally pull in comic artists for stuff anyway, so it's not like this is a first. But this is actually a not terrible card. It's got Vigilance and Menace. Let's see. Return to the graveyard, so you can play with them in the graveyard if you want to attach stuff to them. There's some stuff which we're about to get to actually. Let me go ahead and get to the next story. And I actually am going to take these last two.
Okay.
So Magic just brought back its deadliest mechanic to put in the command zone, and that is poison. So this article is basically about a specific card, the Serpent Society, which is a legendary creature that costs 3 mana to play, 1 green, black, and 1 colorless, has 3/4 power and toughness. Death Touch, which basically means that it doesn't matter, you just touch a card, no matter how powerful it is, it's gonna die. But it's also, you get 5 poison counters, is the line. So whenever another creature you control with Death Touch dies, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. So basically, if you use this in Commander, the game is going to be over fairly quick because, yeah, once you get 10 poison counters, that's game over for whoever has the counters. And basically, this article goes into the fact that, hey, if you're making a deck with this card, I don't know if they have the full deck in here, but yes, they do. But if you're making the deck that is in this article, you're basically an asshole, because that game's not going to go. That's not going to be a fun game for anybody you're playing against. But the next and last article is, or not last article, but the last article for this block is that it goes over the mechanics that are going to be in the Marvel Superheroes set that is coming up. So you can see the Johnny Storm card there. You can see the Kane the Conqueror card there. The Murdoch's Crusade, which is the Matt Murdoch card. The Hulk Smash card. So, it's also showing off some new cards that are coming. Doom Reign Supreme. Dr. Doom card, of course, which is I'm sure somebody's going to make a commander deck out of that. The King Temporal Tyrant card. King T'Challa. Mjolnir, which Mjolnir is basically an enchantment, an equipment card, but it can only be put on certain people if you're worthy. So, because I saw somebody saying, it was like, yeah, you can put it on Cat, but you can't put it on Doctor Doom for obvious reasons. And of course, Thor's going to be a user because that'd be, crazy. Mind Stone, and that's that. But yeah, this article kind of goes through the mechanics of all of that. And also there's a couple of articles in the show notes if you're in the clickbait session, if you're interested in seeing the debut of a lot of cards from that set, and some collectors info if you're interested in that. Von Gloom says Belle Biv DeVoe has a magic card now. No.
I was
Next up.
waiting for the big button to smile.
Yes, I know, since I already started it up, but
So Hasbro, in partnership with 11 Labs, has launched Sixth Wall, a new AI studio. The new AI studio introduces the concept of behavioral licensing, which is a new category of IP licensing. The idea behind behavioral licensing is to preserve the manner in which a popular character thinks, speaks, and acts, which goes beyond identifying a character for IP purposes by how they appear. The goal is to establish canon for a character's personality and voice, as well as implement guardrails for interactive experiences using AI software called Character OS. Okay.
Hasbro continue to be in giant assholes.
Hmm.
Basically, what this all boils down to. So, yeah, that's that. I don't know. Yeah. Ugh. But this is not the only AI story we have in this show, folks. Buckle up for that one. Mr. Freeze, as we get into the toy corner, Mr. Freeze takes on Justice League with a Mattel DC. Yeah, I think I was read that wrong. Mattel DC 3-pack. So it is Hal Jordan Green Lantern version of Batman, and of course Mr. Freeze. It's a 6.5-inch figures. Let's see, they will be. Let's see, the DC 3-packs adds color change play with the cryo cannon, and is priced for $42.99 at Target. So if you want that, sorry, you got to go there. It's expected to be found in stores and online soon. You can go and see all the accoutrement that is with this stuff. Next up,
DC Comics legend Mark Waid is making an official Justice League game. The heroic TTRPG begins crowdfunding in July. Okay.
Yeah, so technically we kind of already talked about this, but basically, one, we did not know when the crowdfunding was going to start, but also the fact that, hey, you can go out there, you can download some quick play PDF and play it right now if you want to. And so you can kind of get a sense of how that's going to be.
Okay.
Yeah. So, check it out. Even if you want to see the art in there, because it's, that kind of good stuff. In fact, there is also a link to where you can download. It's in the article already, but there's a link to where you can download the PDF also in the article. Overgear OG3 Optimus Prime full preview for Takara Tomy Transformers coming soon. So yeah, this is another version of Optimus Prime. This is also Japanese. The pre-order is going to be actually the pre-order is already up from a couple of days ago. So this is for the Overgear Real Mecha series. So this is so this is kind of a mecha version of Optimus Prime. Actually, not a bad looking figure, but so therein lies that. Like I said, good luck if you're over. You probably already got it already, and it's probably over with. So never than that. Next up.
All right, we have some new images of the 01 Studios 01S-18 Fortress Fall of Cybertron Metroplex. So this is a third-party company, have updated their Weibo account with new images of their new of their new Fortress Fall of Cybertron Metroplex. Yeah, so you can check out the image, and you can wait on pricing.
Yeah, it weirdly looks like a Robotech version of Fortress Maximus, basically. So therein lies that. Oh, Metroplex, excuse me. Hey folks, again, going back to the video game corner, Street Fighter 6's next guest character is Tifa Lockhart. Now, you might be thinking, hey, that's not comic book related. There are Street Fighter comic books, so don't worry about it. But Final Fantasy's Tifa Lockhart is coming to Street Fighter 6. And apparently, you know, that breaks some kind of Tekken record because apparently a lot of Final Fantasy characters have been in Tekken. And now this is the first one that went to Street Fighter 6. I'm very curious as to how she's going to play. I mean, it makes sense for that character to be... That one's a closer aligned to Final Fantasy, to Street Fighter than most of the other characters in that series. So we'll see how she plays when that happens. Next up. Oh, I'm sorry, this one.
Attack on Titan 3. So this is a video game, official reveal trailer. So you can play through the whole story of the epic Attack on Titan saga in Omega Force's Attack on Titan 3. Releasing July 1st, 2026. Video game stuff, folks.
Yeah, it's the same people who did Jump Force, who had all the anime characters fighting each other, if I'm not mistaken. So I did not know there was 3 of those. That's crazy.
Right, which is wild.
Right, but also not surprising given how many other anime has like multiples of a series, like say Dragon Ball and Demon Slayer. All right, now here's the thing that I was talking about earlier, folks, with the AI mess. Not AI, but this is as weird and dumb. So Tupac, that's right, Tupac Shakur is coming to Stranger Than Heaven, which is a video game. And we're confused as this one according to the Engadget order. So this is another reveal from the Summer Games Fest. Apparently, Snoop Dogg and the estate of Tupac are on board with it. I think Snoop Dogg is also going to be in Stranger Than Heaven. But yeah, the reveal of this is the thing. The trailer that you get the reveal in is attached to this, so you can go check it out for yourself. But so basically, this is basically a prequel to the Yakuza series. If you're a video game player and you know that series, like this is basically Yakuza Origins, I think. The fuck is Tupac and Snoop doing in here? Don't know, but it's happening. Apparently, let's see. It appears that Tupac will be playing a character named Amaru in Stranger Than Heaven, according to this article. Coincidentally, that is the birth name given to Pac by his mother. So there you go. And there's a press release here, and I said this before, and I say it again. I really hope the Tupac's estate actually did sign off on this, but it's still crazy. Why did that happen? Who am I to say? Next up, though.
Next up, The Wolf Among Us 2 has not been seen since 2024, but Big B, the publisher, made his fairy tale presence known during, that's the character, made his presence known during the Summer Game Fest showcase, revealing that the game will finally launch in 2027. Okay.
Yeah. So, and also there's going to be a remaster of the first Wolf Among Us for folks who had not played it, like me, but I also already own it. So the new Telltale's already doing stuff. Next up, and next to last, which is probably should have been the last bit of news, but hey, guess what, folks? Platinum Games, purveyors of Bayonetta and that Transformers Devastation game, amongst others, are making a Last Ronin game. That's right, folks. TMNT, The Last Ronin, is going to get a video game by the folks at Platinum. So hopefully it's going to be good Platinum, because they do some pretty good games. But yeah, this was also announced at Summer Games Fest. Nier Automata is also one of the games. Ninja Gaiden, they worked on that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, Paramount and Platinum Games came together for this one. Yeah, we'll see how this plays out, because Last Runner was a damn good story. We'll see how they translate it or what they plan on doing with this. Last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and take this Agent 70 because sure, you would have expected me to anyway. The He-Man and the Master of the Universe is out. you know, there was a popcorn bucket. We might not have talked about this, but we definitely talked about some of the other stuff that's coming along with this. But there is a Castle Grayskull popcorn bucket that is out and already sold out. Of course it is. Apparently it comes in a combo that one of the ramparts is a drink holder, is a removable cup, and of course the there's also a stein and another couple of cups, but whatever, because the big thing is the Castle Grayskull popcorn bucket, which the mouth opens up and spills out popcorn. So, of course, that's the thing you would want the Castle Grayskull popcorn bucket to do. So yeah, it's out there. I don't know if they're gonna get any more, but or if you could find it out there on one of. But this is also a Cinemark thing, so I don't know if it's gonna be at other.
Right.
theaters.
I think I saw that they made the power sword.
Yes.
Was it a refillable drink thing?
It's basically a big ass cup, yeah, or refillable, thermos type thing or something. I don't know, but yeah, that is also a thing that's out there. We definitely talked about that one.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's it for the news, folks. I just wanted to end off on the pocket popcorn bucket because since that movie just came out, even though that last thing probably should have been the last thing. Now let's get to our last ad read.
Our last ad read for this episode. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, before we get out of here, one very, very, very quick bit of show and tell. I know Age of 70 is fading, so I'm gonna keep it quite brief. First of all, sorry for the wrestling, a little ASMR. I did get my copy of JLA Avengers. Yay!
Nice. Congratulations.
I forgot to talk about this last week, actually, but then again, I hadn't gone to the store before I recorded last week, so there was that. But yeah, it got the glossy cover, it got the connecting cover thing.
Oh, you didn't get the foil cover? I ponied up for
not.
the foil cover because whatchamacallit, I already have the original copy, so I figured I wanted to get something to differentiate the two.
Right, but also this is what they put in my box. So they did have. I'm trying to remember. I think when I went in there, they did have some other copies. I can't remember if they had the foil one though.
Right, I think they at least they probably had like a foil and or a blank cover. I think there was, and I think there was a Stegman variant also. Congratulations, Roddy.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I know that it's been a bit of it's been not a struggle, but it's definitely been a slog trying to get copies of that. So I'm glad that that's out now for you to get.
Yeah, because like we have previously talked about when they did a Hero Initiative version and how fast that sold out. Yeah, that was kind of. Oh, okay, cool. That was a thing. So, and they said then they were like, yeah, we don't think we're gonna reprint those again. And then with the recent crossovers and whatnot, I guess they went back on that. So that's great. Last bit of show and tell. I should keep this in the box, and Agent 70 knows about this, and I thought one of them wasn't coming, but basically, I got my De La Soul reaction figures.
Nice, congratulations.
So weirdly enough, one of them, I think the Mace one, they said, "Hey, do you still want this? Because we don't have any," or something like that. So, I said, "Yeah, of course I still want it," but apparently, since it's in here, then. I guess they must have got some more or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's for those not watching the video version, you should sometime. It's De La Soul, Mace Poss and Dave. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Exactly. I did order the Tribe one set.
Nice.
But I don't have them yet. So I'm sure that'll be soon. But that's it for show and tell, and that's it for the show. So yeah, next week if we go see He-Man, we'll talk about that. Supergirl isn't until the end of the month, and possibly screening of Spider-Man Brand New Day as well.
Oh, that's the end of July. So yeah.
Well, no, I know it's ended. Well, that's right, because even the screening is like it's still in July. So yeah, regardless, we got a ways for that stuff. X-Men 97 in a couple of weeks, so we got a little bit of ways for that, but that's not
right.
protocol.
Have you watched Spider-Man Noir?
You know what? I still haven't.
Neither have I, but because of my jet lag, I can't stay awake through a lot of stuff right now. So I'm trying to figure out a good time to sit down and at least try to start to watch it. So bear with us, folks. It's been a hectic couple of weeks. So
yeah, indeed. So Von Gloom give us some information. Thank you very much for this. Also, Von Gloom. Von Gloom says stay until the end of He-Man. There's an annoying post-credit scene, which, if it's about who I think it is, I'm not surprising. But I was gonna stay anyway because I'm conditioned. I don't know if Agent 70 is still conditioned to do so as well, but
no, I saw something on social media about that being a post-credit scene, so I knew about it.
Yeah, so I was gonna stay regardless of whether I knew it was gonna happen or not, because like I said, I'm just that conditioned at this point. So yeah, hopefully I'll get to go see Mandalorian and Grogu. Also, the wife wants to go see it, so I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and try to get her caught up to do so, but
right.
But we'll see. Nevertheless, folks, we will be back next week at our normal Thursday night outing. When that next week, unless something happens. So that being the case, I have been Roddykat. I had to reset for a second. I am Roddykat. You can find me at Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at Instagram. Also, sure, if you want to follow my Instagram, I'll be posting dumb shit there. You can also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. No, actually, no Instagram for News Nerds Need, but you can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. @_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You're gonna find this here show on the Comic Book Chronicles on the Coast of the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
And you can find us. Oh geez, wow. That reboot didn't happen all the way. Great. You can find us on your podcast provider place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network SoundCloud page. And you can find us recording every Thursday night, like I said, 9:30, closer to 10 o'clock, on youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. That helps people find our show. Smash that like button, hit that notification button so you know when we are on live and direct on the video platforms.
And you know what's fun, folks? Getting a bottle of bubbles and just blowing them. That's fun sometimes. Get you some, going into the summers, relive your childhood a little bit. Get some bubbles. Go blow some bubbles. And sorry that sounds like ASMR, but that being the case, folks, and if you're on the video version, you can see that slightly clearer than hearing it. But, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.
Get you some water guns, too.
Good evening, Red.
Would you believe